This the link up. This the link up. This the link up. Welcome to the link up. This the link up. This the link up. This the link up. Welcome to the link up. Oh. Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Link Up Podcast with your host, Mr. King, Kana Woods here in the building.
My fellow Homo sapiens, we are back.
Oh, God.
We are back.
All right. And today, we got a special guest in the building, none other than Tadzio Bervoets.
Yeah. See, this one we could give the whole name. You know,
this is a professional
guy. The whole name, professional.
Yeah, because normally we'd be like, we don't know if we want to give everybody, government name out there. We don't know how comfortable everybody to be with that, But yeah, for those who don't know, I guess I'm going to take it over a little bit there, King. For those who don't know, this is my actual blood brother, So I I still consider Woods my brother, even though he just scare me sometimes. But let me just get into it then. So Tats, give us the background, where you study.
All right. So morning.
Afternoon.
No, morning. That time clock. I just reached in a few hours ago from Aruba.
Nice.
Tadzio, Sean brother. Brothers from another mothers. I am the director of the Nature Foundation, which is the environmental organization on St. Martin. I've been working there, almost 9 years. In May, it will be 9 years. So quite some, time flies when you're not having fun. But, that's not true. I mean, I like my job. I think it's important work that we do.
Of course.
But yeah, born and bred on St. Martin. I did my undergrad in the States, University of South Florida in Tampa.
And SFU, if I'm mistaken.
USF.
My bad.
Yeah, you stay forever. That's what they used to do. It had taken me some while to graduate. 5 years out of 4 year program.
But I can't say nothing because
Stop right there.
Nobody here could judge you by.
Stop right there. I did my master's here in Amsterdam at the Vrije Universiteit. Mm-hmm. After that, I traveled for a while. I worked in Africa. I was in Statia for a while. And then, since 2010, I've been working at the Nature Foundation.
But you had, is a Nature Foundation 2 type something you was running in Statia, right?
Yeah, so in all islands of the Dutch Caribbean, so Saba, Statia, St. Martin, Curaçao, Aruba, and Bonaire, they have similar organizations to the Nature Foundation. So every island have its own conservation organization. Mm-hmm. So before I went to St. Martin, I was working in Statia, and that was called Stanapa, so St. Eustatius National Parks. I used to manage the marine park there. When my contract was finished there, it was either like, you can try and continue on Statia, or you can go home and see what you can do with the Nature Foundation. I mean, at that time, the Nature Foundation was inactive. We weren't getting no subsidy, no money was coming in. The staff was inactive. We had a huge amount of debt. So they had asked me, if I would be up to taking up the challenge to trying to get the foundation back up and running. That's been the story ever since, really.
And since, obviously that was, you seem like you had a large task in front of you with getting everything back together, the debt and all of that you just mentioned. I was not aware that that was the state I was in before you came into it. But at this point now, how you would say that you tackled that? Or would you say that you're close to, everything good now?
We're doing better. I mean, the thing is, when I did my master's degree, I was like, I'm never going to get rich with this type of job. But it's something that you have to like, that you have to want to, you feel passionate about the nature. You love St. Martin. You think St. Martin is a beautiful island. And we want to keep it that way. So, one of the things that we did that was very important very early on is make sure that we communicate everything out. Some people might be afraid to bring things out in the open if there's a sewage spill or an oil spill, or if the water in Kimshat dirty, or, if it's got shit water running in the road. But our policy always was and still is that no matter what happens, of course you communicate it out to the people that you want to inform, government, etc. But, we find that, St. Martin belongs to the people of St. Martin, so they should know what's going on in their country for sure. So, that was one of the tactics that we use, and, we start to get a bit of a name on the island, also with the work that we do. Both whether it is, managing sharks or talking about nature protection or whatever, we make sure that we communicate it out. And then after a while, when you become in a community, you show you work hard, you try to do projects that really make an impact, do protection, come up, if there's a problem, come up, talk about it, and not only complain, but also try to work together with, whether it's government or private entity or private individuals, try to come up with a solution. So I would say for the past, the beginning was tough. The first year was tough. I had to go months without a salary, and thank God, mommy was there that we could have crashed out by her.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, so but now I think we get in there. Doing some good projects. I think we're doing some good work. People know more. I feel. I don't want to blow hot air up my ass or anything, but I think
that's okay. I'm gonna do it. a lot of people, like, if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't be like, even Haking, I'd say I wouldn't be knowing half the crap. I wouldn't be like how bad the nature situation is on the island.
Yeah, so that's an important part of our job. So we really wanted to be, a part of the community, talking about St. Martin. Because a lot of things at St. Martin are focused on, politics, and this is happening and that is happening. We work with that too. When there's, like the dump, for example, is a big one.
We'll get into that.
Sewage, those type of things are big ones. But St. Martin is still beautiful. We got nice coral reefs. We have beautiful nature still, despite all the things that are happening. So, it's not only all about the negative, but also to highlight how positive, St. Martin is a beautiful place. And not only St. Martin, with this kind of work, you have comrades in all of the islands, like I mentioned. So, like, for the past 2 weeks, I was in Aruba helping those guys out with their shark conservation program there. So, spread the love.
What does that entail, basically? So, what is happening with the sharks on the island?
Oh yeah, what's from Aruba? If we didn't say that already.
So I must say Aruba was a challenging place to work. Challenging place to work. Politics, regulations, but mostly politics. So we run a multi-island shark conservation project, and some people are like, why the hell this guy want to protect sharks eat people? But that's far from the truth. All of that started like with Jaws and then movies and stuff like that.
Hollywood basically just hyped out.
Although I had really liked The Meg, though. That movie was sick.
I ain't gonna lie, it was better than I expected.
But I had like that movie.
It was better than I expected.
Yeah, for sure. But when people say sharks eat people, every year 500 million sharks are eaten. Caught for the shark finning industry, especially for the Asian market.
But is that the only part that is eat? Just the fin?
Some people will eat the whole sharks, but mostly it's just for the fin. From the 500 million animals that are caught each year, they would just catch them alive, saw the fin off, throw the animal back in the water to die. Sharks need to continue swimming to be able to breathe. And if you cut their fin off, they won't be able to swim. So basically, they just drown underwater. So, it's a tough one. And if you compare that to just last year in 2019.
Yeah, we're 19.
In 2018, they only had 4 shark attacks that were fatal. So, if you compare that globally, globally.
Huh. Well, sharks are scared of humans, basically. They don't
when we started the shark conservation program, we weren't even sure that we would find any sharks. It's only when we started to catch them and tag them that we figured out that there were sharks on the island. So, globally, compared to 500 million sharks a year, and you compare that to 4 people a year, I was reading somewhere, Sean just come back from New York. I was reading that more people die from being bit by New York people than from no, I'm serious. It's like I was reading through the statistics, and they had 60 people died from being bitten by New Yorkers.
If that's in New York, what is California then?
Yeah, people don't brush their teeth. They're like, what? They bite you in the neck. They rip out your... Serious. So it's all, and then on top of that, on top of the animals being critically endangered, they're also important for the ecosystem. If you have sharks, you have a healthy fish population. If you have a healthy fish population, everybody like to go on a Saturday morning to the fish market, have their whole fish. Mm-hmm. And if you remove an important part of the ecosystem, like a predator, like a shark, then the whole system tends to collapse. So that's one of the focuses that we have. But we do all types of different shit. So sharks is just a small component.
And kind of to piggyback off of that, to continue off of what you said about the ecosystem, I follow you on IG, of course, and I see that you're always doing something on IG. That's one thing. There's always some interesting thing going on the IG, and I saw some stuff regarding the corals, and I forget the exact term, but the sickness or something like that that was happening in some of the corals on the island.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. Coral are very important. They're important to not only the ecosystem to support life for the fish and all of that, but coral are also important for the economy of the island. people come to St. Martin to go diving, for example.
Okay.
When they go diving, they also need to stay in a hotel. They eat in the restaurants. They drink in the bars. So we actually had to do research on how much corals provide to the coral reef provide to the economy of the island is about 100 million a year.
What?
In goods and services, yeah. So economy, the reason why we have white sandy beaches is because the coral, believe it or not, is mostly parrotfish shit. So parrotfish would chomp on the coral and then it would shit back out sand. So think about that next time you're lying on the beach.
I already know that.
This parrotfish shit is so soft.
I did not
Between
know
my
that.
toes.
I just learned something as well.
The problem that we're facing now is that, our coral reef was already in quite a bit of trouble because of coastal development, a lot of hotels, sedimentation. Every time they pump out the salt pond is a problem. We have a bad sewage network in a lot of places on St. Martin still. So if somebody don't pump out their septic tank, of course, all of that goes into the ocean. So we had trouble with that already. And then, let me be nice on it. And then Irma happened. And we lost about 80% of all our coral after Irma. So because of the wind, because of the wind, the waves, and the current, about 80% of them broke off. So we were like, all right, so 80% we lost, so let's start back a coral restoration program. My missus is a expert in that, so she helped out a lot with putting that together. And then we had that going quite good, and then we were doing a survey a few months ago, and then we found that there's a new disease hitting our reef. So it's not always easy to keep positive, but we're going to see how it look, and then we're going to continue with growing the coral in the nursery for us to plant back out on the reef. So
But is the disease?
But no, go to.
Is the disease caused because of the rising temperatures in the ocean, or is it something?
No, we thought first when we saw it, there's something called coral bleaching. So when the temperature rises too high, the coral can't take it. They get stressed, so they first turn completely white, and if it lasts too long, all of a sudden the coral would die off. So when we saw the coral starting to look a little white, we were like, oh shit, we got bleaching going on. But when we really studied it, and then we had a guy come over from the States, the coral Santa Claus, because he looked just like Santa Claus, Dr. David Vaughn. He came diving with us, and he was like, man, y'all got this disease that first showed up in the Florida Keys. And we actually think that it came to St. Martin through the cruise tourism industry. So after the hurricane, our reefs were already in trouble. They already didn't have the resistance to disease because of the storm coming through. We had the cruise ship tourism start back, which is awesome because we need it for our economy. But some cruise ship tourists probably went diving in the Keys first, and then they came to St. Martin and they brought the disease with them.
Well, how is that? How is that interaction? Like, how they bring it on the clothes, on the equipment?
On the equipment, probably. So they probably ain't rinse out the equipment properly, and we think that is a type of virus, so it just gets transported onto our reef.
Is there a cure?
Well, we're looking at different things. The places in the Keys have been doing they've been crushing up antibiotics in cement and putting it on the coral around the places that get infected, and it seems to be killing it. But yeah, how much antibiotic we need to crush up and to put on the reef? I'd have to go to Mexico with a suitcase and buy some illegal stuff and then bring it back to St. Martin. But, I think the best thing for us to do now is to see, we wait a couple of months, we see how it goes. Luckily we're in the cooler months. Usually in the cooler months, the coral have more of a chance to catch themselves. So we're going to see how it goes. And then by the summer, hopefully it's a little bit better. And by that time, we can plant the coral that we have growing in the nursery too, to kind of give it a head start. So
my thing is, I would assume y'all gave this report to government.
Yeah, we gave it to government. Everything that we do, we give a written report to government.
Okay, so now why I don't understand is you just give out of a value there that the coral itself that was worth something like 100 million when it comes to the economy. Why more emphasis ain't put on conserving the natural life in St. Martin?
I think is a few different things. Of course, the priority on St. Martin is always tourism. I must say it's starting to build up. The problem is, let me just call it like it is. A government will come in, there'll be a new minister. I would start the conversation with the minister and the cabinet, have the discussions, come up with a plan. Of course, government takes slow as hell, so you have to have patience. Things would be moving, we would be getting somewhere, and then bam, government fall.
Yeah.
And then you have to start the whole process over again with a new minister. So I hope for better or for worse, we can actually have some stability in our government these days, so we can continue on the discussions that we have with government now.
Because I find it's ridiculous because everybody focuses on tourism. Okay, cool, but then that is the whole nature part of the island
Yeah, for
is
sure.
tourism.
For
like
sure.
people ain't coming back to see concrete and
No,
a whole
for
bunch
sure.
of buildings.
People
and
come to
stuff
see
like
our beaches. I mean, just to give a story. After the hurricane, we got some money from the World Wildlife Fund through DCNA, which is another organization that they gave us money to clean up the place. So, I got a phone call, say, what's your immediate need? I said, well, the boat survived, the office survived, all of the equipment survived, but we need to clean up the place because the place got completely trashed. So they said, okay, we're going to make it easy. We're going to transfer the money to you, and then you put a plan together. So what we actually did, because the foundation is located in Colby, a lot of fellas from in the area, that were working jobs, lost their jobs. A lot of dive instructors too lost their jobs. So we actually were able to get some money. So from October to December, we were actually employing about 15 people to help out with the cleanup. We were out there too, cleaning up the beaches, etc., etc. So all of a sudden I get a phone call and say, hello, this is so-and-so from the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association. And I was like, number one, how the hell did she get my number? And number two, why is she calling me? So yeah, we've been trying to reach the authorities to find out if the beaches are cleaned up. We haven't been hearing anything from them. We're ready to go to St. Martin, but yeah, our tourists want to be able to enjoy the beach without getting their foot cut up by zinc. So we want to know what's going on. Nobody's picking up our government, so we're calling you to find out now what's going on.
Boy.
So, they were based, not many people know, but they actually were basing whether or not they would come back to St. Martin the time that they come back on our reports about how healthy the beaches were. So that just goes to show that, the environment and conservation is critical to the...
it plays a major role.
It plays a major role in the economy of the island. And like I said, people starting to realize, especially decision makers are starting to realize, but yeah, hopefully we can have that government stability and people will continue to realize how important government really is. I was listening I was seeing some of the things about the budget for 2019 that we weren't included. While I was in Aruba, I almost got a heart attack, but I called them and they said that we are included. So we will be getting a small subsidy from government, which at least would allow us to pay our GB bills and those type of things. Yeah.
As a general question, like what would you say has been most affected post Irma and stuff like that? At this point, we have, I guess, a year.
Yeah, a year
since
passed.
Irma.
The lagoon got a big hit with all the boats that sank.
They still got a good bit of boats.
Leaking oil and
Yeah,
stuff
leaking
like that.
oil. They still got a good bit of boats. I think right now they have about 70 or 80 boats still underwater.
What?
And how much are you take? I know you take out a good bit.
Boy, there were about 300 boats in the Simpson Bay Lagoon. So yeah, we took out. Well, in the beginning, it was just us together with some colleagues of ours that we were salvaging boats, and then a whole mess came up that you need a permit, etc., to raise your boat, which slowed everything down. And then finally things started to pick up. So I think, we only have about 80 left. And those 80 that I only say 80, I say only, but it's still quite a bit.
Yeah.
But those 80 is probably people who saw that their boat was destroyed. They didn't have no insurance, so they just pack up their Georgie bundle and they rolled. So, but I know the World Bank, with the project that they have ongoing, I have my questions and doubts about the World Bank, but I hear that within the next few weeks, they should start with cleaning up the most of the lagoon. But yeah, you had boats in the water. 4 mega yachts, like mega yachts sank in the lagoon, and they just, in the first few weeks after the hurricane, I was diving in battery acid and sewage water and all of that crap. So, the lagoon got a big hit. We also lost a lot of our mangroves, which are also very important. So, yeah, we still, it's going to be at least 10 years before we can talk about any type of recovery. 185 miles per hour wind.
But and with the mangrove situation, is it possible to start getting? Are you start replanting them already? Or?
Yeah. So we had get a whole bunch. We had get about, if I'm not mistaken, about 200 or 300. We actually had to get them from in the States because nowhere around had mangroves to be able to give to us. Everywhere was gone. So we ordered about 300 from the States and they sent them to us. I did not know that you could FedEx mangroves, but apparently it's a table. We get it the next day too. I was like, oh shit, man, these things still cold. So we got them and we since for about a year now we've been growing them behind our workshop. So probably when I reach back in the next 2 weeks, I'll me and my colleagues will do a little outplanting of the mangroves. We'll probably, like we always do, invite a school group to come along so that we can also give some education to let the kids know what's going on.
Mangroves is like similar to corals. Mangroves is another kind of integral part in certain other animals and stuff.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
so mangroves are a nursery. So most of the young fish, before they go out to the reef, they get born in the mangrove area, and then they grow up in between the mangrove roots, and then they move into the open ocean, the coral reef ecosystem. Mangroves are unique because they're the only plants that can grow in salt water. They also are good because, in places where they have a lot of mangroves, when they have the storm surge from the hurricane, it stops the storm surge from washing over. So, for example, where I live in Cold Bay, there's a small little mangrove patch, and that actually stopped, the bottom floor from my apartment getting flooded out. So they're also very important in that respect. And, birds live there, and it's just a nice area to be in. So,
all right. Okay, so I got any other questions? Cause I got some things I want going on.
John, ready to go to adjust the fire.
Okay, now because
what you got?
there's not necessarily a question, but I just want him to explain something. So I've been obviously because you're my brother, I've been tooting my horn the fact that my brother been on Shark Week. So you give them a little thing about what our episode was about, how you get contacted and all that. It was episode from last year, right?
Yeah, 2017.
Oh, it's 2017.
Yeah, 2017. So in 2016, I got invited by the government of the Bahamas and Richard Branson, the guy from Virgin, to go to the Bahamas to discuss shark conservation because, we were realizing in the Caribbean region that sharks were in trouble. I mean, some species dropped by about 90 to 95% of what they usually, what they normally were. So we went to the Bahamas, got introduced to a whole bunch of people. Made friends with Jillian and Duncan Brake, who live in the Bahamas. And we had a small budget available to actually set out satellite tags. So we started the discussion. We have some satellite tags available so that we can actually go online and follow live the track of the sharks once we tag a shark. So they said, no problem, let's continue the discussion. And then in the meantime, just continue with the program. So we will continue with our conservation program, going out there, tagging sharks. We had St. Martin Shark Week, which we went into the schools, gave explanation why sharks are important. Then we went to, we had like public events at Buccaneer and things like that, movie nights. And then after a while, I got a phone call back saying that Discovery Channel was actually interested in featuring the work that we do on for Shark Week. So Sean can tell you, since I was a little child, and then when Sean got older too, both of us were in front of the TV every time it was Shark Week in July.
Yep, that was a tradition, man.
Yeah, that was a tradition.
Was that command? That's it.
Yeah,
Nothing else on that TV, man.
When Sean was small, like Sean, Barney got to be on hold. It ain't happening.
And leave it be said too, my brother did take me on my first shark dive.
Yeah, that was legit. Yeah.
When I was 16.
Nah, man, you was younger than that, dude. You had to be like 13 or 14 or something like that. Yeah.
Where was that?
Sorry?
Where was that?
That was in the Marine Park. Was now the Marine Park.
It was Caribbean Reef Sharks, right?
Caribbean Reef Sharks. Yeah, mostly Caribbean Reef Sharks.
But it was a hell of an experience.
Yeah, it's a hell of an experience.
That's what feed my interest in the whole great white, the cage thing. You want to see where I get my idea from?
No, it makes sense. But I think it's a very dangerous idea.
You hear what's going on with the great whites in South Africa? No more great whites in South Africa.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, and it's killing the shark diving industry in South Africa because everybody wants to go to South Africa to dive with the great whites.
It's there in the Guadalupe Island.
Yeah.
But is it also because they're poaching the sharks?
No, it's because a part of killer whales showed up in the area where they do the shark diving, and killer whales messed up, man. They would hunt the shark, cut it open, eat the liver, and just leave the rest of it.
Wow. Killer whales are next level. When it comes
they're
to
next level, yeah.
Wow.
So because of that, all the great whites disappeared, and now they have killer whales to dive with, but no more great white sharks.
I would not dive next to a killer whale.
I would think twice about that too.
But nah. But so where we would have to go for that now?
Guadalupe is a spot to be. But yeah, Guadalupe is like you got to go to Mexico and then take a boat for 3 days, and then it's like a $6,000 trip.
Okay, so I'm gonna postpone that trip a little bit.
But I just do like I do with the Maldives tomorrow. Just get somebody to pay you to go.
That's that's what we started project management. I might be doing something exactly. These days,
Yeah. So anyway, back to the Shark Week thing. So then we were like, okay, so Discovery want to come on board, so we got to make it big. So what we actually did, we chartered a boat, a liveaboard dive boat, so 100-foot boat. with the project money that we had, which the National Postcode Lottery here in Holland actually paid for. We chartered a boat. We got a whole bunch of scientists on board, and then about a ton, literally, of camera equipment and the camera crew. I mean, I would deal with scientists any day, but when it comes to camera crew, they were like, "Okay, tag it again." I was like, "Tag it again? You could only tag a shark once." So, okay, Tadzio, we get into the water, and I was like, "Nah, this is this is the 14-foot tiger shark we're dealing with here."
That sounds like us.
But that was what off the coast of St. Martin?
No. So we actually started on the coast of St. Martin. So we tagged one tiger shark seaferry in St. Martin.
Okay, wait. When we say you tag a tiger shark in St. Martin, how far? Like what beach?
I shall not disclose that information because you don't want to know. I don't want to.
Okay, I think that says enough already. Yeah, but
it's funny because when I talk about Aruba, when I tell like we have sharks in Aruba, and they're like, "How you mean?" Like, yeah, look, we're on like the low side of the ocean right now. If you go far out enough,
yeah, I must say we was in Aruba and we didn't see any. I think the wind, but the wind was crazy. We was out there and they had like 5 days of blowing wind and it was crazy. But anyway, so we went to the Sabre Bank on the ship. So we actually stayed on the Sabre Bank for a whole week on the ship. Wake up 4 o'clock in the morning. Set out the tagging equipment, and then by 12 o'clock we started to tag the sharks. So yeah, it was cool. So that lasted a week, and then when the actual Shark Week show came out, we was featured for about 10 minutes out of our show. But that's how it goes, I guess. Yeah. And they call me Dr. Bervoets, which is like, okay, well, I got my PhD. If they say it must be true.
Who's you to fucking correct them?
Discovery Channel. Okay, Discovery Channel. Well, you got the info. So yeah, that was that was epic, yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't. And since then, we've been on Dutch TV with the shark. I mean, the shark is shark, so everybody's really interested in it. Mm-hmm. So we've been on Dutch TV a few times. Vroege Vogels is a show that plays here too. NOS, a few programs. Jeff Corwin Experience we've been on as well.
Okay, I didn't even know.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work because, I mean, you're doing your research and it's the actual research that we're doing. So we're not like staging anything for the camera. But yeah, you have a film crew and you have to, be aware that, there's a film crew and they need certain things, etc. So like one time they asked me to do something and then, to give a talk in front of the camera and then something went wrong and I jumped in the water. But I forgot that I was mic'd up with all of the audio equipment. Yeah, so I jumped in the water with all the audio equipment. So yeah, they were not very happy.
I was just going to say they probably wasn't too happy with you.
Very happy. But yeah, whatever. The most important thing is that we're all safe and the animal gets the research that it needs. So.
But then, okay, so when you said there's a decline in sharks, are we talking about specific sharks or like?
All sharks, really. I mean, sharks, the thing is with sharks is that they mature very late in life. So before a shark reaches sexual maturity and it can get offspring, it's like 20-25 years old. Wow. Yeah, and then it would only get like 1, 2, maybe 3 pups at a time. And then only every other year. So I mean, if you and not all species, people think that, yeah, these guys at the Nature Foundation are against fishing sharks completely. Yeah, we're against fishing sharks, but then only species. They have other species which, are fine to eat because they don't have that type of life cycle. Mm-hmm. But especially the bigger sharks, Caribbean reef sharks, tiger sharks, hammers, and even the nurse sharks, they mature so late. They have such very, their reproduction cycle is so slow that, is once you take out 1 or 2 out of the population, it can cause a crash in the shark population. So, I mean, mostly St. Martin is a shark sanctuary, legally speaking. That's something that we got through in 2012.
Okay, so what I mean?
You're not allowed to catch or land a shark. So it's not allowed. And if you do catch a shark and the shark dies, you have to report it to the Nature Foundation. There have been a few times where we caught fellas, because from time to time we patrol with the Coast Guard. Shout out to the Coast Guard because they've always been very cool with us and help us out anytime that we need help. We would go on patrol with them and we would catch guys fishing in the marine park for sharks. So they confiscate their boat, give them a fine, etc., etc.
Okay, I'm just going to ask if there's like jail time for that or...
I mean, it's not jail time, but I mean, it's not... we write the report and then it's up to the prosecutor, of course, to decide what the punishment would be. But sometimes the prosecutor's like, they did not know. I was like, okay, well, next time I get caught for... something. I'll say, oh shit, I didn't know. Sorry.
If only that was the case.
Yeah. But I mean, St. Martin, I must say, like, working in Aruba, even working in Bonaire, I go to Jamaica quite often as well. I must say, St. Martin people, I guess it's also a function of its size. That it's still a small island. They're quite open to nature protection, and I must say that we get good support. Of course, something happens like when we complain that there's going to be a balloon parade for Carnival, and we come up against it. People say, "Oh, why y'all go against Carnival?" I was like, "But
balloons,
the balloons,
Yeah,
that's what we got
against Carnival is
balloons. But if you break Buju, I might consider that."
No, but people got to understand is it got to be throughout the whole thing, and not just one activity or one group could get away with it.
And there's, exactly. We in 2019 now, and it's not as if the information is out there about how bad plastic can be and the impacts it has on the environment. That
was the next thing I wanted to come up. So, obviously, I know personally you've been on this whole against the use of single-use plastic.
Mm-hmm.
How that I guess you can say battle going on in St. Martin?
It's going all right in the sense that we have a program. One of our projects is the Reduce Reuse project, and that one is specifically done with my colleague. My colleague Melanie is the one spearheading that. That has been going good. At the same time that we've been talking to government and especially Parliament, and I've seen Parliament has been coming out with statements that it's under review, etc., etc. But in our opinion, it's taking a little bit too slow. On the other hand, we've been focusing a lot on the bars and restaurants to really move towards sustainable products. Also, putting it out in the media and making it available to the population what the alternatives are to straws, to plastic cups, to styrofoam. When in the beginning, I used to go to what a place named there on Kimsha, Captain D, to get my my barbecue, and I go with my own container. And in the beginning, they were like, "What? What the hell?" And then, but now they're like, "Ah, okay." And then they put it in the container for you.
Yeah.
So, and it's getting there, and Buccaneer, Dingy Dock, Lagoonies, Bushman. There's quite a few places now that are using biodegradable products. And we also give them information on where to order them. And of course, it's a little more expensive than just the normal thing. So one of the things that we have been trying to push for from government side is that they actually give a subsidy to people who move towards using sustainable products and biodegradable products.
And how you think that gonna go?
Well, I ain't holding my breath. But at the same time, it's taken too long. A country like Jamaica that's a big country. You're talking about 2 million people. A lot of people are under the poverty line, live poor. Michelle lives there, so I go there quite often. She's from there. She's now in between St. Martin and Jamaica.
Shout out, Michelle.
Shout out, Michelle. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, babe. They banned single-use plastic since January 1st, 2019, so since January 1st of this month. And of course, you can get a little pushback, but, you'd be like, this is just...
If they get used to it.
Yeah, you just got to get used to it. Just one of those things that have to happen and then eventually get used to it. Aruba too. You go to Aruba, they give you a paper bag. And if you ask for a straw, they give you a paper straw. So, it's not something that's impossible, especially in a small island.
That's the thing. It's just to change the mindset.
Yeah, it's changing the mindset. It's changing the mindset. Walk with your own bag. When I go to the corner store in Colby, I walk with my own bag and they know not to give me a bag when they, because it's ridiculous. I get 2 Heinekens and some dog food and they pack it in 2 bags. And those bags stay in the environment forever. Even when they break down, they end up in the sea. The fish eat the plastics. We eat the fish, and then all of a sudden we got cancer, fertility problems in men. I don't want nothing to
jeopardize.
You gotta be an uncle soon, man. You know what I mean?
I think the biggest, the plastic that always irks me is those plastic 6
the
six-pack.
The 6-pack rings. Yeah.
Those are the worst because they go to the beach with that.
Yeah, exactly. And then they leave it on the beach and then it gets washed in. And not only doesn't it biodegrade, but those 6-pack plastic rings, they catch wildlife. I've removed those off of turtles. Seabirds also get caught up in them. So what I recommend is people, when if they get a 6-pack of whatever, to just take a knife or a scissors and just cut in so that they don't be rings anymore, so nothing gets stuck into it. So they just cut the rings open so nothing gets stuck in it. But yeah, plastic, countries all over the world are now, especially in the Caribbean, are now all moving towards banning single-use plastics. And after the hurricane, when we were doing cleanups, especially underwater, like 2 or 3 kilometers up, we were finding plastic bags that got blown off of the dump into the marine park. So it's really, it's really something that has to happen.
Just for the use of time, because we
on a crunch.
we're on a crunch. Since you mentioned the dump,
Oh yeah,
let's think it through.
the elephant in the room.
What really? Okay, since when last you was in St. Martin, you was in Aruba for a while. You was in Aruba for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was in Aruba for 2 weeks.
So let's say when last you was in St. Martin, the dump was still on fire.
That's one of the things, people think that a dump is only on fire when they see smoke coming out of the dump. The thing is with the dump is always on fire. I mean, you go to the dump any given day, it's always smoking. It's like hell. It's like always bubbling some type of liquid out of the dump. Smoke is coming out of everywhere. So you have the dump, and inside the dump, because there's no sorting of garbage, the decomposition process causes a chemical reaction, which causes a big heat ball. So if you take infrared glasses and you look into the dump, you will just see one big ball of glowing fire inside the dump. So whenever there's heavy winds or if it rains, when it rains, steam gets released. So that's why you see the big steam cloud after it rains. Or if there's a big, especially during these months from like December until March, you have the Christmas winds or the winter winds. They cause a flare up, and then you have a flare up, and then the smoke goes out. But one of the sad thing about the dump is that no matter any given day, any time on St. Martin, it always pushes those toxic chemicals. Those toxic chemicals. Those are the worst ones. Those toxic chemicals out into the environment. And, we're trying to figure out a way. We haven't figured it out yet how to do it. But I'm sure that if a research study is done, communities directly downwind of the landfill must have problems with increased cancer rates, children born with asthma.
You see that's the worst thing.
Problem.
We're not gonna find out those. We're not gonna really go find out those repercussions for the next between 5 and 10 years.
No, I think they're there already. I mean, the dump after Hurricane Lewis in '95. My friend at the Herald, Alita, I love her Facebook post because right after the hurricane, she started to post things on the exact same day as it was in '95 after Lewis, as it was in 2017 after Irma. And some of the things that were happening were the exact same thing, from fall of government to problems at the dump, to this, to that. And I was like, we've been going through this for the past 30 years, basically. So we've have about 3 decades of fires and smoke going into the population. And that's like a generation at least that has been exposed to these chemicals. So by now, people should start to have increased cancer rates, breathing issues. I mean, and everything goes to the dump. So batteries, chemical waste, all of that. So I mean, these things have dioxins, heavy metals. They can cause mercury poisoning, birth defects. So the list is long. So when I tell people, I mean, I can chase after a shark as much as I want, or count coral, or plant mangroves, or whatever. But unless they find a solution to the dump and find it quickly, I mean, this is not something that we can wait, another 5 years before we find a solution. Because it's not only an environmental issue, but it's also a public health issue. I mean, it's affecting both.
It's an everything issue: environmental, public health, tourism.
I mean, the first thing, because these cruise ships are pretty big. When there's a flare up on a dump, or even not, the first thing that a cruise ship passenger pulling into St. Martin, standing on the deck, seeing is a huge landfill in the middle of Phillipsburg. I must say the dump in Aruba was on fire last week too.
I heard that.
Yeah. Was on fire last week too.
But so based on your professional opinion, what do you think would be the best way for us to deal with it?
I mean, they have different ways. The problem is with solid waste management all over the world is there's always some type of, let's call it as it is, there's always some level of corruption involved, because people are always going to create garbage, and once you create, you add a monetary value to the collection of garbage, they're also always going to be personal interests, and because of those personal interests, you'll have people who are trying to milk the system to enrich themselves. So the first thing that has to be done, anything that happens to the landfill, has to be through public oversight. So they have to be audited. They have to provide their financial reports. Everything has to be transparent so that we know that there's no influence, whether politically or personally. There's no corruption going on. So everything is public. What I'm going to say now, people are not going to agree with me, but there has to be a garbage tax implemented on St. Martin. So there has to be a tax which I lose headphone.
Yeah, we lose a little bit of sound.
The audio still coming.
So
you could keep that.
They have to have a tax that you can implement that will go towards the management of solid waste. The garbage has to be managed. And then from there, how it's managed after that, that's a big question. There was a lot of talk about the waste to energy plant. That now seems to be off the table. But that would have been a decent solution.
Why that's off the table?
Because again, too many personal interests were involved, and politics was involved, and government changed, and this and that. But I mean, it is a solution that's applied all over the world. I mean, if you look at Singapore, for example, they do an excellent job in managing their solid waste issues, and it powers the whole city of Singapore, which is a quite substantial city. There are different things. And when I was doing my master's degree here, there's a place called no, I forget because it's been a long day. Polder, which used to be a dump, same thing, in the middle of a wetland, just like St. Martin is in the middle of the Great Salt Pond. And they actually capped it over with a special type of grass that caused it to the garbage to decompose. And now it's a grassy area where people walk around with their dogs and stuff like that, and their playground. So there are different options.
Crazy.
The thing is, like, our people in St. Martin, they just have to be open to new ideas, realize that things have to be public, and that things have to be transparent, have to be no backroom dealings, no personal interest, and that there are options available globally, and just, invite people to come over, come up with a plan, be straight with them, and, let's finally solve an issue that is, been going on for decades and decades, that affects the environment, affects the population, and affects our economy. I mean, come on, man. You have a dump in the middle of our capital, in the middle of the Great Salt Pond, that is part of our cultural heritage. So
that's a very weird place to.
I know, right?
But that's the thing. Where else they would put it? That
used to be Back Bay. Or something
yeah, it used to be
that.
Back Bay and Point Blanche.
Yeah.
It used to be Back Bay and Point Blanche, but
So
then
a little more out of the way.
Yeah.
But then why move it? That would be my next question.
Well, I think they moved it because the population, when we had like the tourism boom in the 70s and 80s, that area does get too small. And I think a lot of it is also private property. So they went to public land, which they had to do through filling up the salt pond, I guess. And that's what they set aside as the dump.
Question though, in regards to the waste management, do you feel it's better if you privatize it or if it's still handled through government?
I mean, I believe it should be privatized. And when the contract is awarded to the entity that is going to handle it, it should be done on the basis of a terms of reference that is very clear. So it shouldn't be as if, okay, use my partner, you have a couple of garbage trucks and a few security guards to put up at the dump. Let's give you a multi-million-dollar contract, which you only spend about, $50,000-$60,000 of. And the rest you keep, and then you're the one who handling the garbage. I mean, you always get what you pay for. So you really should get a company that is specialized in waste management and use that company to manage your waste. I mean, I remember before Irma, a new contract was awarded, and in Colby, where I live, fellas were coming up to pick up the garbage in pickup trucks. I mean, like, what the hell is this that's going on here? You need a garbage truck that's specialized equipment for doing these type of things. So, I mean, that type of professionalization and ensuring that the bases are covered, and, has to happen. It has to go a long way. And we can only do that with public oversight, with being as transparent about things as possible.
Do you think with in regards to that, should it be an outside company, or you think somebody from St. Martin should come up, develop it, or somebody who studied it, or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's a good point. I mean, waste management is actually a master's degree on a waste Catholic level that has to be studied. And I'm not so sure any students that are up and coming and want to have a good impact and have a decent job, I suggest you go study waste management, because that's something that still has to be done. Whether or not it should be a St. Martin company or an outside company, of course, the focus should always be in keeping the funds inside of the country and employing a local company. But the local company has to be able to deliver on the goods.
But that's exactly why I raised that question, because my whole thing is based on the history of how it's been treated. Maybe somebody from the outside should come and government make some kind of deal like, okay, cool, you gonna come handle it, but at least, like, let's say 50% of your workforce have to be locals in order to. So when you leave, you have somebody else on the island that's capable of running it.
To have some kind of workshop, something that at least
exactly
go along
to build the capacity. And that's one of my trouble with a lot of the world. Well, not a lot. I mean, some of them have been doing it, but a lot of the World Bank projects that are ongoing on St. Martin now after the hurricane, I have the feeling as if these fellas come in, they say this and this and this and this, and then they get a high salary for consultancy, and then they roll again without leaving the capacity for our people to be able to tackle our own issues. And that's one of the things that is critical. I mean, St. Martin people are a smart people, the industrious. Look how we pick back ourselves up after the hurricane. And once you leave the capacity to the people to be able to do their things, once you involve younger people who don't have the tendency to do this nepotism and vriendjespolitiek and this partner thing, but actually want to make a difference, that's when St. Martin finally is going to reach the level where it should reach.
Yeah, but it's to get those young ones that ain't corruptible by the older ones, because then the system will continue.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, you really need some open-minded, free-thinking, confident people out there that are not easily influenced by the powers that be.
Because that's something else I've been trying to say on this podcast for a while, is that not only, St. Martin as St. Martiners need to start thinking together and stop depending on government to do things. Because if that's the case, we never gonna get anywhere.
I mean, and we can do it. We can do it. Look what we did after Irma. I mean, I can remember after the worst of the winds was finished, I woke up because I had passed out.
Nobody don't blame you. But
once I know everybody was safe, I passed out.
But
so when I woke up after the worst winds was finished, I went outside and I remember turning to Michelle and I was like, actually it's not that bad. I expect St. Martin to be completely level. I mean, it was bad, but it was not that bad. And then, of course, the first 4 weeks after the hurricane, it was complete craziness. But by December, to see how far we had gotten with, people coming together as a community and as a neighborhood, helping each other out, putting back on each other's roofs despite insurance companies messing people up. You know what I mean? Putting out on Facebook, okay, you can have I remember eating my first ice cream after the hurricane together with mommy and our cousin. And, it's just a community coming together and helping each other out, build up, and not depending on government for anything. And that's something that we should continue. On the other hand, I do believe government should take the responsibility and do the things that they have to do.
Obviously, for sure. But I mean, again, looking at the track record,
there's small things that the community can do.
But
when
we don't
it
need
comes
to
to larger projects that when there's like money involved, then the government needs to.
And again, then
the people need to force the government to do it then.
But that's the thing. Again, shout out to Stephanie Carty and the whole Green Box project they was doing. There was after Irma, they put a whole bunch of recycling things by schools and stuff like that. So the schools at least could start separating the trash and stuff like that, and little things like that going to go a far way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're talking about a public-private partnership. I mean, that's something that has to be implemented more on St. Martin. And, you have like Stephanie and those guys, they did a great job, but these things have to be replicated throughout the community. Businesses need to, I mean, everything is fine. I mean, like, I can't wait for Carnival to happen, 50th anniversary, and, having a big show up and all the corporate sponsors of those big shows. But, for a small foundation like mine, not to say that I'm jealous or anything, but if I want $2,000 to do a mangrove restoration project or an education program in schools for kids, the amount of sweat that I have to do to be able to get those type of private funding to support our work, it's, sometimes it's a little bit disheartening because, okay, a one-time show, it's fun for the evening and, it's fine. But, there are wider things that have to happen on the island that have to... that have to do with making our country and our people better.
All of that, more, okay, cool, 50th Carnival, more trash, more garbage.
Yeah, that's another thing, dude.
More people, that gotta be handled, more cruise ships, more planes.
The first, I know I'm going to get backlash, but SCDF, please do a little bit better and try to make Carnival a little more green. Every time after Carnival, we have to clean up so much trash from in the beaches, from the Great Salt Pond, from everywhere there's a party. Just try and get things a little more biodegradable. Request the vendors in the village to have biodegradable products available. The cups are available on the island. Use biodegradable straws. And please, folks, that balloon jump up is just not something that should happen. Balloons are the number one killer of marine wildlife.
Do they still do that on Aruba? I'm not even sure anymore.
I'm not so sure. I mean,
It wasn't a big thing in St. Martin until like 5 years ago, so I don't know why people up in arms about it.
and there are alternatives to balloon that you can use. I understand kids are using it, and I understand it's fun for the kids. But I mean, come on, there are alternatives that you can use, and
I
at
sure
least be a sustainable member of our society.
I sure the
Carnival
kids
is a big
ain't gonna
deal.
miss that much if they don't have a balloon.
Of course, it's a. I mean, it's a,
You don't remember it.
Exactly.
balloon.
It's not that big of a deal.
it's a balloon, man.
To kind of switch gears, I had something I was thinking to ask you. Like, how do you feel about ecotourism? And if that were to be implemented more on St. Martin, what are some ways that you feel that it could be implemented more on St. Martin?
Definitely. I mean, not only should it be implemented on St. Martin, it has to be. Because the current trend on the way tourism is developing, more and more tourists want to have more of a ecotourism experience. Even the cruise tourists, which are not known to be very eco-minded, they also want to have more of a ecotourism experience. And, on the other hand, these type of tourists that want to focus on eco-centric experiences on the island also have more money to spend on these type of things because they're usually younger, they have more disposable income, they're more conscious. So, I mean, it's something definitely that should be built out. There are a few things on the island that are happening. I mean, the dive tourism is, of course, ecotourism because divers come to dive in the marine park and they contribute to the island like that. There are some issues with it, but we have Rainforest Adventures, which labels itself as an ecotourism adventure, although some of the things I still have my questions about, but at least it's a move in the right direction. There are other things that are happening, such as Pelican Peak, Sea to Sky Ventures, that are also trying to do eco-focused tours. So I mean, that's something definitely that should be built out. Trisport, for example, is a great example of ecotourism on the island. I mean, they do the hike to the natural pool in Guana Bay. They do kayaking tours in the lagoon. I mean, they really are a company that get it, and that model should be replicated on the island. I mean, ecotourism is the way to go. If you go to islands in the region, the BVI have a big ecotourism, and Dominica, for example, they got trashed with Maria. And now in their recovery, they're recovering, focusing on ecotourism. And it's a smart thing to do. It's a smart thing to do because, I mean, these guys have these ecotourists, quote unquote, have more disposable income than, the redneck American that takes a cruise ship, a 3-day cruise from Puerto Rico and then flies back to Georgia or wherever they come from.
But is there anything that's like a new form of ecotourism that you think that isn't yet implemented aside from like snorkeling, dives, hikes and stuff like that, bike trails or something like that could still be implemented? I mean,
these things are, we have to be open. The people of St. Martin and government have to be open to these type of innovations. I mean, new things come up. Some of them are questionable. I got a request once for camel tours on St. Martin. I was like, what?
Camel tours?
Yeah, like camel, not camel tour.
No, not normal, like camel tours. But I mean, who even had the inclination to think that they had camels on St. Martin?
They were going to bring them in.
That's weird.
Okay.
But they should be open to these things, like to... and people should also, like whale watching, for example. Every year between January and April, we have humpback whales that migrate through our waters. And a lot of people don't realize that we actually, like, when we go out there and we do the research and the monitoring, every day we have, either sightings of whales and dolphins, or we can hear them sing, or somebody has been reporting that they've been seeing them. And this is something that really should be expanded upon. I mean, there are examples out there from Dominica and Guadeloupe of whale and dolphin watching tours that are quite successful, and the people are willing to pay good money to be able to see a whale, instead of these talks that happen all the time about dolphin, those
dolphin parks
and dolphin aquariums and things like that, which again is an issue on St. Martin that has been coming up lately.
I see last year they was trying to bring up one again, either last year or the year before. They wanted to bring they tried to bring back a dolphin park. That's a very
antiquated thing to do.
I know, man. It's 2019. Exactly. The Cove happened, and then people are aware, and death in SeaWorld and all those things happening. I mean, SeaWorld is losing revenue. Dolphin parks are closing all over the world, and in St. Martin, they're still having discussions about opening a swim with the dolphin program. I mean, like, what the hell, guys? I mean, dolphin watching tours is much better. You put tourists on a boat, you charge them premium money, you feed them alcohol from the beginning. If they don't see a whale or a dolphin, they don't care because they're blind drunk by the time you drop them back off. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
So, I'm always hopeful. You know, I might complain and I might, talk trash, but I'm always hopeful that we are moving. I mean, sometimes it's one step forward, 2 steps back, but at least we're going forward step by step.
The problems have to be brought across.
Yeah, they have
if
to.
you don't know it there.
A lot of things, I feel like it's just the old guard, like holding on to whatever there is left.
Yeah, change has to come. Change has to come. I mean, there's new blood in Parliament. I hope there's newer blood in Parliament whenever we have the next elections, which I hope is a full term. And
let's hope it's not soon.
Not next month or within the next 6 months or a year. So, I'm hopeful, man. I'm hopeful. I mean, St. Martin still, I travel widely. I been, for work and personal travel, I've been many, many places, and St. Martin is still one of the most unique places that I've ever been. And I must say, shout out to Arikok in Aruba, because that place is nice too, man. Yeah, that place is
I
nice.
miss that place.
Yeah, that place is nice.
But, and just for the thing on time, we kind of got to start wrapping up. But something too, Tats, we just want, I just want to try to tell people to fellas, help me out. At the end of the show, at the PSA, for like places where people could go and volunteer and stuff like that.
Encourage the community organization.
Yeah, man.
Name some places there quick that people should go and check out.
Nature Foundation.
Obviously. Obviously.
So if you're interested in helping us out in volunteering, we have a volunteer list, whether it's for beach cleanup or for mangrove planting. If you're a diver for some of our diving work, don't hesitate. Just send us a message on Facebook. I promise that we will answer, even if it's not for the next 2 weeks. But we will answer eventually for sure. There are a bunch of good organizations on St. Martin. Epic Environmental Protection in the Caribbean, I got to give a shout out and promote to, because they're doing great work. Be the Change is also doing great work. Whenever is SXM Doot, we really like to encourage the community to take part in those community projects for SXM Doot. So that's really something that they should be doing. And, you put me on the spot, so I can't come up with. But yeah, people know those organizations that are on St. Martin, and they do need the help. I mean, a lot of these things, Animal Defenders is also a great one if you like working with stray dogs and cats. These are organizations that, have passionate people, but that also need the help with manpower and support from the community. So
I don't get a proper list from you.
If you need further motivation, I don't know why you would need, but if you need further motivation, like all this you're doing now when you're younger, you could use this as a placard, whatever, to go when you go to like.
Yeah, for those.
Yeah, for those who are going to and we do that often. We do that often when we have, students that are either still in high school or are going away to college. We write recommendation letters whenever they do some type of voluntary activity with us, or an internship, which we're also looking for. We just had two locals get an internship with us, which is very exciting for our marketing program. So yeah, if you need help with a project or looking for an internship in the field that we're operating in, just don't hesitate. That's what we're there for.
Okay. You got any other projects that you want people to look out for, or anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, just keep an eye out. I'm going to the Maldives for the next 2 weeks on a shark expedition as well. So if people want to follow how that's going on, you can link me up on the gram. And keep it positive. And for those that live in Holland, my condolences about the weather.
But yeah, for those that don't know, what's your Instagram?
Just Tadzio Bervoets, my first name and last name together.
Okay then.
we could drop down the description.
That on the description below on YouTube.
Yeah, and fellas, are plug time?
Again, it's one of those things that I got something to plug, but it's happening today, so by the time this comes out, so we gotta go into the future. So the next party is coming out on the 25th of January in Club Panama. It's called El Barrio. It's a Caribbean/Latin Caribbean party, and with Caribbean you're going to hear like soca, dancehall, and dergelijke. And on the other side, then you have like Latin Caribbean music, so bachata, merengue, salsa,
The Latin vibe. And King?
Yes. The only thing I got to plug is new songs that have been out. That is Tree Conscious or Hydro from the Three Conscious Cats, and Criminal, which is me, Mr. King, and Dollar G. Those are the 2 latest songs. So yeah, go stream those. They're on all streaming platforms available: Tidal, Spotify, Apple, whatever it is that you use. What's your preference? So yeah, go stream those, and that's about it.
Yeah. So like always, I ain't got nothing else to plug. But like I was telling y'all, every episode, go out, do those in St. Martin, at least go out and give back to the community, whether it's volunteer work or helping out somebody else with a project of theirs that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. We need to start cooperating with each other and stop fighting each other, because we all know government ain't gonna help us for shit. So there's something else. Oh, and also we on Spotify and all other streaming platforms. You can find us on Apple Podcast as well. I don't know music, but it's specifically Apple Podcasts. Yeah.
Oh, it's a new thing now? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know. Is this
I don't know
podcast
about
section
new,
on
but
Apple?
yeah. So you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. We also on other channels that I don't necessarily know right now. But anything that you could find podcasts on, you most probably going to find us. So yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, last thing, just want to say, thank Tats for coming through.
Yes, appreciate
doing this interview.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, it was a long time coming, I guess. We
Yeah,
tried it before.
we tried.
Set it up, but
Hopefully next time you come through, we could get a little longer conversation.
Yeah, man. Maybe on the way back.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll check that. So
With that said,
yes. We'll see you the next time we link up.
bless.
Man.